To another one of our Tuesday morning info session workshops here through Impact Beaverton. Our program's a collaboration between the City of Beaverton and the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce, providing educational opportunities, one-on-one counseling, and other support for any small business in Beaverton. Today's workshop, we're very fortunate to have actually a team of representatives from Aliat. They are a local HR provider. We'll let them give a little more details about what they do. We use them here at the Chamber, and they have very graciously agreed to share some of their insights on hiring and onboarding employees, and more specifically, building a healthy business and business culture, which will help you attract and retain top employees. Certainly a concern for a lot of our small businesses is how do we get and keep employees. A lot of places are understaffed right now, and so the timing for today's workshop couldn't be better. I will let the three of you, Bob, Tony, and Bethany, do your own introductions. And with no further ado, I will turn it over to you. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Rob. I think we'll introduce ourselves first, and I'm going to lead out the conversation. I'm Bob Connolly. I'm the CEO and founder of Aliat. I'm going to go into more detail as we go through my first 15 minutes. So I'm not going to tell you a lot now. And then Bethany.
And I'm Tony Genvillis, Chief Benefit Officer, and I work with Bethany a lot on the benefits, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that today.
Great. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. I know it's a tough subject. What we do know is everything's changed, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I first want to take the opportunity to thank the Beaverton Chamber, Alicia and Rob and Gustavo, really putting this on. I've had a long history with the Beaverton Chamber. I don't know how many people you know me, but I'm a chiropractor and I practiced in Beaverton. And I've been on and off with the Beaverton Chamber for about 30 years. Just really have enjoyed the relationship with the Beaverton Chamber. My daughter graduated from Beaverton High School. I, lived right behind Jesuit High School, so on and so forth. So I'm kind of a Beaverton person all the way through. But just really enjoy the opportunity to present this topic because, as we know, healthcare and dealing with employees and onboarding them and everything has changed dramatically, and how you hire employees. So we're not going to cover it exhaustively in this time frame, but we hope to give you enough nuggets to start plugging away and thinking about this process. Because it does take some work. So one of the things that we like to do, if you see healthy business handbook and you're going, what is a healthy business, right? And we believe that our healthy business process really is the key to this new way of employment, and that you have to have your core values and your processes down in alignment with your employees. You're not going to draw people with salary. I don't care how high you increase your salary. They're there for a salary and they don't understand what you're trying to do. And we're going to kind of give you some background and some research on what people are looking for. Bethany's going to go pretty heavily into that, and what the marketplace is. But we always start with our core values, and core values are key to any business. All of our employees, if you're to ask them, they understand these core values. They operate out of these core values. We bring in people based on whether we feel they meet our core values or not. And if they meet our core values, if you remember Good to Great, Maxwell, it's that process that people are in the right seats on the bus moving forward. And so in order to do that, it's a company culture that has to be developed to develop really like-minded people within your niche to then go out and serve your clients. And so we always like to start with our core values. And I'm just going to do just brief explanation of that so you understand it and what makes us different in what we do. And we do HR, but we're really an administrative services organization that does all the business in your company that you didn't start your business to do, right? So our tagline is do what you love and we'll do the rest. It's a scary statement for me, but we try to do that at the best of our ability. So our first core value is be an innovator and a holistic business health. Now, what does that mean? It means that we look at the totality of the business, where it's affecting. We don't try to just plug holes and move you forward. Is there fundamental business systems, processes? And we're going to go into that a little bit more under our healthy business framework. But we really try as a team to understand where the problem is and solve it, not just solve it temporarily, but for the long haul, and the overall company improves because of that. Create an outside in experience for our clients. Okay, it sounds, what does that mean? And the mindset is that we are putting ourselves in our client's seat and saying, what are they facing right now? And are we solving their problem regardless of what's happening with everything else around us and everything else? Is their problem being solved? Because we could solve 90% of the problems elsewhere and it doesn't address their problem. So we really tried to understand what their problem is and problem solve that. Have a good, have a growth mindset. And if you haven't seen the stats on this, this is really quite substantial out of Stanford and everything else. Are you a problem solver? Are you iterative? Are you collaborative? And obviously collaboration is key, is our last one. And those are the key things. And so when we bring in employees, we judge them to these core values and we give them a plus, minus, and everything else. And to be honest, if they don't fit our criteria, we're not going to bring them in because it's disruptive to your business and everything else. So that's just our exercise on core values. I hope all of you have practiced and looked at core values and then integrate them throughout the team. Every team needs to understand what your core values is, what your mission values, everything else moving forward. And then you need to impart that upon new employees when they come in. So when you start looking at current market place, to find new employees, I'm sure you've all looked at it, but over the past 3 months, the U.S. economy has added 1.7 million jobs and the unemployment rate fell to 3.6. That's April this year, just 1% above where we were pandemic, where the pandemic hit, right? And that's where we are, is we're almost back to the pre-pandemic level. Okay, that's one thing, right? So we're almost at full employment, depending on what area of the country you're in and everything else. Some is worse, some is better. But still, meanwhile, the number of working and active, the number of people working or actively looking for work has increased steadily. Employees are desperate to hire and they hike up wages in response. Okay, so now you're coming in and saying, I need employees because I'm starving. I got all this orders to fill or whatever. If you don't have a supply chain issue and all these other things, you have to fill this. And then you're sitting there going, your current employees, you can't, can you fire employees right now? You can't, because you can't afford to, right? So now you have to sit there and look at that and say, okay, I'm giving bonuses and everything else for people coming in. What about the people there? You have to deal with them. It creates a very unstable market, employment market within there. So you have to do it in the right alignment, and everybody understands why they're bringing somebody in, and you have to do it in the criteria that makes sense. But that is one of the major things when you start looking at, there's plenty of employees out there. That's the good news, right? So if you start looking at employment reports, show that 90% have recovered, representing 1.6 million jobs below. So we are just 1.6 million jobs below February 2020. When you start looking at the high school graduates entering the market, that takes it up to 3.4 million jobs, down from the pre-pandemic number. So we're right there. That's not really that many numbers. You can make that up in a couple months the way it's coming back. All the growth we've seen in employment is really refilling the coffers of where we were before the pre-pandemic. So you wonder where Oregon is. Oregon overall is 87%, right? So they're below the national average. And to be honest, the counties peripheral to the metro, Portland Metro, is better off or doing better. Like Bend, believe it or not, they were like the scourge out of 2008. They're like just thriving right now in that area. I believe they're at 94% or something like that, all pre-pandemic, and hiring new. So if you look at this, 87%. Overall, Multnomah County is the worst, 59%. Washington County is second slowest at 84%. and Clackamas is 95%. So then you have all of that to consider, right? There's plenty of people out there, but do they want to work, or how do they want to work, or what are they looking for? And then you have, if you haven't come to the realization of the Great Resignation, there's a Harvard Business just in June 22nd, they titled it Harvard Business Review, the Great Resignation stems from the Great Exploration, okay? Which is really interesting, because what they found is that ranked that some 57 million Americans quit between January 2021 and February 2022. 57 million just quit their job, okay, during that time. And they are calling this the Great Exploration under this report from the Harvard Business Review. Pandemic life forces everyone to re-examine their personal and professional priorities. Remote work alerted us to the possibility of decoupling job from geography. Interesting, huh? And just one more quick quote out of this report. People aren't just quitting their jobs, they're rejecting the idea that burnout is the price they have to pay for success, okay? So if somebody comes into your position, and this isn't pointing fingers, it's just generalities. If somebody comes into your job and they look at people being stressed, or, you know, oh, you do it, you know, they have different examples of why you're there, that could be enough for them not to want to come in. They won't want to walk into a stressful job. Now, you know, at some point, everybody has to work, you would think, but this is what we're dealing with. And Bethany's going to go into this a lot more. I'm kind of done with that part of it. You know, so if you want to hire a person because you're understaffed, good news is there's several people available. Bad news is expect vastly different than before the pandemic. And then, as I said, Bethany will go into that. To attract new candidates to your business, it is best to evaluate your business. Is your company healthy? Here we're back to this. What does it mean? What is your culture like? Are your employees happy? Do you have a long-range vision for your growth? And that's, again, long range. It could be 5, 10 years. 10 years is better. Then you have a 3-year goal, and then you have a 1-year plan, and then you execute quarterly where everybody's on the same page. Is your business healthy? These are a few of the items you need to consider before seeking employment. So if you look at our healthy, the Healthy Business Handbook, and we developed this. This is a concept that I had when I got into business, to treat businesses like patients, right? And you have to first understand the problem, right? To treat without diagnosis is malpractice, right? And so you have to understand that you have to look at your business. Is it healthy, and are your employees thriving, right? And so if you look at, go ahead and go to the next page, the pillars of what we call the healthy business. And this is just an overview, as I said, but you have healthy vision, healthy systems, and healthy culture. Well, Bob, that sounds pretty basic, but it is true. And you start basing those pre-processes on that. So you have vision, you know, something that's not unrealistic but attainable. You have healthy systems, which we spent a lot of time into our process. But what is your system like? How do your employees interact? You know, and this is your internal business. What kind of benefits, those types of things, what happens to that? In a healthy culture, what's the mindset of your culture? If we were to pull somebody aside in your business and say, hey, what do you think of this place? How is it going? What would they really say? Understand, Gallup tells you, even before the pandemic, 70% of your people are actively looking for another job. Now there's bonuses and increased raises out there. Okay, that's what you're up against when you start looking at first recruiting. You know, so one of the things, like one of the best quotes I like, it's in this, is good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. This is Jack Welch of GE, right? And that's your job. That's your job, is to create that vision and process that people can come work in, right? And that's really a successful business does that. So how do you create a healthy vision? How do you create this? We can, if you want our e-healthy book, you can send to our, and we'll put it into the chat of where to ask for it, and we'll send it to you. But we give examples on how to create this and then a checklist and back. Okay, but the main topic of this, and one of the things that is really important, is now you guys are asking, how do we get people to come in the door? How do we onboard them? And so I'm going to turn this over to Bethany now.
Great. Thanks, Bob. Go ahead, Bethany. Thanks,
Thank you, Bethany. So yeah, at Aliat, we work with companies of all sizes. And in today's job market, all companies are reviewing their benefit offering as a key component of attracting and retaining qualified employees. But ultimately, effectively communicating those benefits is essential. There are three different types of employee benefits, or major categories, let's call them. There's employees that benefits that are required by law. There's employee benefits that aren't required by law, but are considered an industry standard. And then there's employee benefits that are offered as an additional perk or a fringe benefit. So let's take a look at the ones that are required by law. Well, first of all, there's a Social Security and Medicare contributions. Most employers don't consider that Social Security and Medicare contributions to be a benefit, but they are. They are the long-term benefits to both employees and employers pay into, with the knowledge that the employee will have that access to that benefit in the future. Next, there's the workers' compensation insurance. It provides the employees with the supplemental income and medical benefits that they no longer receive due to an injury at work. And then there's the minimum wage and overtime pay, unemployment compensation contributions. And then finally, for employers that have 50 full-time employees, the law requires that you have health insurance and family and medical leave, FMLA. Then next, there's the benefits that are not required by law, and they consist of two primary groups, the core benefits and voluntary benefits. The core benefits often have an employer contribution for these benefits, while the voluntary benefits generally do not. So what are in the core benefits? Well, there's the medical benefit, dental, vision, life. There's a short-term and long-term disability, retirement, separation pay, and also paid time off. Then in the voluntary benefits, you might find benefits like accidental injury, critical illness, hospital care, short-term disability and long-term disability in this category also, supplemental group term life insurance, and AD&D, accidental death and dismemberment. Then lastly, we're going to consider the added perks or fringe benefits. What are they? Well, there's stock options, wellness programs, tuition reimbursement, student loan repayment programs, commuter benefits, maternity and paternity leave, telecommuting and working from home options, and something called unlimited PTO. Unlimited PTO is quickly becoming a hot trend in employee benefits. As this name suggests, an unlimited PTO policy is where you have a vacation policy in which the employers are not given a predetermined number of days off. The employees can take many vacation, sick, personal, mental health leave days as they need, as long as their manager approves their time off. And we have that here at Aliat. It's quite amazing how well it works. And I think that Bob will even be able to tell you a little bit more about the success, statistically speaking. But then with all these different benefits, having a robust benefit offering is important. But if the understanding of these benefits is not communicated well, then there's a reduced value in the employee's mind. We have found that developing tools that aid in the benefits communication is vital. So not only do we invest time in holding benefit enrollment meetings with visuals and question and answers where the benefits can be discussed, but we also invest in electronic documents that enable the employee to be able to review and research these benefits as the circumstances arise. So I'd like to go to the next slide. So this is an example of what we've developed for one of our companies, a simple one-pager. And this one-pager has different icons on here. It's in a PDF form. So when you have it on your PDF viewer, you can actually click onto the dental benefit icon, and it'll take you right to the dental benefits, such as the benefit summaries and other additional information on that. And with each of the different benefits, that's the same format there. What this is great is that you can hand this to a new prospective employee, and they can see what a wonderful benefit offering that your company has, and they can take and you can email that to them, of course, and then they can do some more research on their own as to what the benefits are. Next page. We also have developed what we call a full brochure, and I'm going to have Bethany just go ahead and move through some of these different pages here. As she's moving through the pages, you can see that we have put out the different benefits, and then we have links on this. Also, it's an electronic document showing, you know, employer-employee contributions, this type of thing, more of the benefit summary information. This makes the benefits more tangible to the employees, and they have it in front of them where they can always go back and do more research as their circumstances arise. And then lastly, and we can just go to the next slide, Bethany. If you don't have, you know, a full brochure or one pager, at least you can have some simple comparison documents. Like in this case here, this company was offering 2 different medical plans. So we developed this side-by-side comparison so they can make a decision which plan really would be the best one for them. And of course, you know, we're always available to answer their questions as they go through, and as things arise during the year, to answer the questions along that way too. So that's about it on the different types of benefits and benefit offering. Again, the communication of those benefits is the most critical part of that whole thing. And I think we're now moving to question and answer. So you had your hand up, Rod?
Yeah, I have a question for you because I think it applies to a lot of our business clients we work with at Impact Beaverton that are very small, really in-person businesses. They're childcare businesses, restaurants, retail, food carts. They can't work remotely, and they don't necessarily have significant amount of extra money to be able to provide a broad range of benefits. So I'm interested for the really small businesses, what you see as a best approach. I know sometimes giving employees a choice of which benefits are most valuable to them can help. But what's your insights on a very, very small business that's very in-person, that people can't work at home, and they don't have a lot of extra money to be able to provide a broad range of benefits for employees?
Bob, do you want to address that?
Sure. Yeah, Rob, so that's always the conundrum. I can't afford it, but if you get sick, you can't afford that either, right? And what's the lesser of the 2 evils? That's always really important. Because of the exchange, there can be, even for small businesses or the individual within the small business, there's still subsidies going on. So it's possible that just the exchange would solve that for them. Outside of that, you start looking at mindset of catastrophic versus, you know, having a hangnail removed, if you know what I mean. And you really are looking for that if I were to have a heart attack or in the hospital for 6 months or whatever, even if you owe 20,000 of 500,000, it's better than owing 500,000, right? So those are all strategies that you look at. Some of the more popular things that are coming since this all happened and we're investigating right now are med share programs. And that seems to, they seem to be working. So we're not ready to endorse it yet, but they are out there. And at least you have something that will help you offset the cost of care. And we all know the cost of care is gargantuan, right? It's huge, right? If you have any issue at all, I mean, just to go have your appendix out is probably 30 grand now. Right. I mean, and that they do it percutaneously outpatient, really, if it hasn't burst, you know, so it's very, very costly. So those are things when you start looking at, it's not so much providing a benefit for your employees, it's providing a benefit as a solopreneur or very, very small 1 or 2 people that have families and everything else and need coverage. So in Oregon, you can get a group insurance from 2 or more 2 separate employees or more. So they could look at that also, and then maybe do the larger ones. We bring in programs like HSA and HRA, and ours is a master HRA that help take that big 0 to 10, $20,000. Instead of paying the premium to have a $500,000 or $2,000 deductible, you put that difference in that premium in an HRA, and it goes to first dollar benefit and covers that over time, because we typically cycle. It's about every 7 years you have an event, right? And that's really key. I'm over answering it, I'm sure, but let me know if that's good, or if there's just something I missed.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I know it's challenging for some of our small business owners to try to not only pay people as wages continue to go up, it's also challenging then to find the money or to save the money to be able to provide benefits for people. And I know the culture is very important of creating a good work environment, but for a lot of our folks, you know, you mentioned before, sometimes people just jump to another job just because it makes $2 an hour more, or now this one's got benefits. So it's this ongoing struggle behind how much total compensation do I need to pay somebody to keep them around, so I'm not constantly training them, but also I still at the end of the day want to be able to have an owner's draw or have a little bit of profits at the end of the year to be able to grow the business. So
that's why you're in business.
Yeah.
People don't understand business. I mean, a good business makes 10 to 15 cents on every dollar at the end of the year, right? Yeah. A good business, right? Yeah. And so you're paying 85 to 90% out.
Okay, so other questions, folks. What other questions do you have? Anybody, if you'd like to either use the raise hand function, you can also just unmute your mic and start asking a question, or you could post a question in the chat box.
Can I add one thing, thinking of small business?
Please do.
We run across them a lot, and you have to have workers' comp. You don't have to have it on yourself, but you have to have it on your employees. So you got to make sure that you're set up with a safe policy or something like that. That's a big red flag if you get caught with employee getting injured and not having workers' comp. Also, properly paying the taxes over, that's really important too. So make sure you have good advice on that and how that happens. Systems tend to help, you know, if it depends on what systems you use and what's going on, but those are 2 big things for small business. And if you happen to have people in other states, that's a big one, because let's say you have somebody selling or working remotely because of this new world, you have to be set up in that state in order to have that employee there if you're paying them as a W-2. So that means you have to be a licensed foreign entity. You have to have all your tax criteria, everything else. And that's what we find with small businesses. A lot, well, I got people in 5 states and none of them are set up right. Right. And it's not against them. It's who tells you this stuff. You find it by trial and error, and that's really the key.
Yeah, and we try, Gustavo and I try hard with Impact Beaverton to make sure people know all those little details of hiring employees and what you have to have and where you need to go and how you need to register. So thanks for the insight, Bob.
Yeah.
Other questions? Anybody that's on the call, on the chat this morning, in terms of hiring, keeping employees, benefits, how to balance different needs? Any questions open to hiring and managing people that work for you and trying to keep them around? So I'm not sure if I don't see other questions, I don't know if there's other insights that either Bob or Tony or Bethany would like to share. I would like, you know, I do have a pretty strong background in HR myself, and I've been working with several of our impact clients on talking about organizational culture and hiring and keeping people and building team culture within and how to open up communication. So if you are a local business and you're interested in talking with me, I'd be happy to do so. I don't know if there's other questions, other things that people are interested in related to hiring and keeping people. I don't want to just extend the call for the sake of extending the workshop, but I want to also make sure that if you have a question that you have an opportunity to do so.
You're muted, Rob.
Yep, I am. Sorry. You probably maybe heard me on Gustavo's. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. If there are not other questions, I would like to thank Bob and Tony and Bethany from Aliat for sharing some insights on building a healthy workplace and hiring and keeping employees. I know this is a big concern for a lot of our employers right now. I know there's a lot of turnover and a lot of vacant positions with a lot of businesses. And hopefully you picked up a couple of good insights from our team at Aliat on ways that you might be able to attract and retain some key employees. If you have other questions, please send them to me or Gustavo here at Impact Beaverton. We'd be happy to answer your questions. And if we can't directly answer your questions, we have a good network of people like our people at Aliat that can help answer questions if we don't know the answer. And I'd also like to thank Jessica for doing her translating. We appreciate your service as always. And we will be with you next week is after July 4th. So we do not have a workshop next weekend. So we do have a workshop the week afterwards. And I don't know if somebody had a question. I saw Gustavo was pointing to something. I'm not quite sure, but our next workshop is scheduled for July 12th. And Gustavo, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm going to, if you could stop sharing. Oh, what's going on? Okay. Okay, so I wanted to share today where you can find the next events. Typically, where we send out text messages, but for all the work that we have, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. So this is on the webpage for the Chamber of Commerce, which is beaverton.org. So you can go through the main menus. This is what, oops, and you can select events and then the calendar. And you're going to find all of the events that you have through the chamber and through the Impact Beaverton.
Jessica, ¿ya puede escucharme?
Sí.
Ok, perfecto.
Yes. Yes.
Entonces, aquí,
So
aquí podemos
here we
ver
can
todos los eventos
see all the
por parte
events
de la Cámara de Comercio
that the Chamber of Commerce is putting on.
Impact Beaverton. Selecciona el calendario.
Also through Impact Beaverton. So
Aquí va a
select
ver
calendar.
todos los eventos del mes de junio.
You can see all of June's events, which we're almost done with. And then we go to July.
Todos los martes
And every
podrá ver
Tuesday,
las siguientes eventos o
You can
webinars
see
por
the
parte
next
de
events or
Impact Beaverton,
webinars
le
that
da
Impact Beaverton has
seleccionar
put on. So you
y
can click on
se
it
tiene que
and
registrar.
you have
Es
to
un registro
register.
muy sencillo,
It's a really
solamente
easy
pone su
registration.
nombre,
You just
su
put your name in,
teléfono
your phone,
y un correo electrónico,
and your email
selecciona
address.
la cantidad, su nombre
Pick the
y se
amount, your
registra.
name, and
Y así va a
submit.
tener la mayor información para
So
los
that way
siguientes
you're
eventos.
gonna
Para
get
el
the best
siguiente mes de
information.
julio vamos
For
a tener
next,
una
for July
excelente
12th,
presentación
we're gonna have a
acerca
wonderful
de
presentation
marketing
about
por
marketing
el presentador Marvin Peña.
by Marvin Peña
También
as our
vamos a
presenter.
tener el
We're
26 de
also
julio
on
otra
July
presentación de
26th, we're gonna have
comunicación efectiva para
another
todos
presentation
los que quieran aprender
for those who want to learn
cómo transmitir mejor
how to
tus ideas a los empleados o en general.
better transmit your
Y a
ideas
partir
to
de julio
employees or
y
communicate with your
agosto
employees. So
solamente
in
vamos
July
a
and August
reducir las
only,
sesiones
we're going to
informativas
reduce our
por
info
verano.
sessions for
Solamente
the
van a
summer.
ser
So
dos días.
we're just going to have 2 days in
Pues
those months.
básicamente
So
es todo lo que
basically,
yo quisiera
that's all that
compartir el
I
día de
wanted
hoy.
to share today.
Pues
And
prácticamente ya el tiempo se
pretty
acabó
much we've run out
y
of time.
obviamente les doy las gracias
So obviously,
Aliat por su
thank you so much
grandiosa
to Aliat
presentación
for your wonderful
y
presentation.
pueden
And
encontrar los videos en
if you want
inglés
to
y en
find the
español en
videos in
nuestro
English
canal de
and
YouTube
Spanish, you can go to our
Impact Beaverton.
YouTube channel through
Y
Impact
pues,
Beaverton.
gracias y por
All
mi
right, thank you
parte es
so
todo.
much for allowing me to present.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the info.
Thank you again, everyone. Have a great day. See y'all
Bye-bye.
soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.